Welcome to Cauldrons of War, Stalingrad. I'd ask that you please like and comment before we even jump into the campaign. I know it's crazy, but I intend to go through this entire thing and see how far we can get, and that really helps. So now, as you can see here, guys, we are playing as the 6th Army, and we're trying to push into the actual city of Stalingrad itself. The truth is, there are a bunch of stages to the Battle of Stalingrad, and this is really only the final stage. So here we are, guys. The final push towards the Volga is at hand. When we succeed, we will have concluded this great campaign. But take note, our adversary is still dangerous. A major counterattack has just been crushed by the bombs of our glorious Air Force. And now we actually have an option to either progress with caution or rush towards the Volga. That's going to give us some additional command points, but our units are actually going to lose cohesion points, making mopping up and defensive operations a little more difficult. So I want to try and take the cautious approach here and really just go slowly towards the Volga. Now, there's a bunch of different locations here which we can go for, but Mamaev Kurgan is going to be the one I want. And the reason is, as you can see here, it actually has the Volga in sight, which means we can fire on Soviet ships that are trying to cross the Volga into Stalingrad for a counterattack. There are also tunnels and trenches in the area, so it might be difficult to push through, but I don't think so. I think, especially since this is right at the start of the map, we should be able to take this area pretty quickly. Now, what I'm going to do is plan a coordinated assault. I'm going to have an assault roll for this unit. I'm going to do the same right here. I'm going to give him an assault roll with a secondary support roll, and let's attack. Best of luck. And there we go, guys. A hail of fire welcomes the advancing troops, but now is not the time to hesitate, as the cautious advance turns into a frantic rush towards the defenders' positions. And if we take a look there, it looks like we did manage to actually take control of the area with the assistance of Luftwaffe dive bombers. However, as you could see, the area still has some booby traps and snipers all throughout. So we're going to go ahead and mop up. This does use up a command point, but I think it's very, very important. And so as you can see here, we do have Mamaev Kurgan Hill. We've got the Volga in sight. We could continue on down this way, but I think it's important to try and get a hold going into the city, and that's probably going to be the western suburbs area. So I'm going to hit the western suburbs here. As you can see, we've got a ton of different divisions that could attack this area, but I'm hoping that the 71st Division HQ can do its own thing here. We're actually, can we reinforce them? We can. We're going to add some sappers, guys, some tanks, and some guns, and we're going straight into the western suburbs for an assault. Again, typically I would not go in with one unit, but in this case we are taking that risk. That precise anti-tank fire, as you can see, cost us 2 tanks, but only 4 men and 2 tanks. Really, it's not going to stop me from pushing. Now, as you can see, it's a worker housing area, guys, which means that for the most part, our tanks should be able to move through this area fairly easily. They essentially just drive through houses. It's not heavy city blocks yet. It's kind of the outskirts of the city. These gullies, big natural trenches, offer some protected access of progression. Of course, this also means the enemy can use the gullies too. Now, I could go for a mopping up operation there, but I want to join these forces. I'm not sure we even can because we don't have units over here. We're going to actually have to attack over here in the west in Komsomol Park and the school area. Komsomol, somebody could probably explain it better than me in the comments, but sort of like a youth league for the Communist Party, the Soviet Union, the Soviets' Communist Party, and kind of is trying to build up young commissars. Now, I think we want to push for the school. This is a very well-known location in the Battle of Stalingrad, as are all of these, of course, but the school in particular. And I'm going to go for that coordinated assault again. I'm going to do the same by moving in with this unit for a double assault, but also I'm intentionally doing this to get both units in, the 71st Division HQ, 191st Infantry Regiment, and I guess that's 3rd Battalion, and this is 2nd Battalion. Best of luck, boys. And there we go, a few whistles, a few barked orders, and the advance of the attackers resumes. Once again, those German dive bombers really helped us out big time here. I think without them, we would not have been able to take control of this area. But we have to keep in mind that despite having these areas initially, they could be full of snipers, booby traps. The only one we really cleared out was Mamaev Kurgan, and we still have additional units that need to move into the city of Stalingrad. Now we're actually going to go to the night phase. That's right, this is really just day one of the Battle of Stalingrad here. And you can see this is where the enemy brings in all of their troops from the river, across the Volga, from the other side of the river into the city itself. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us, of course. All right, let's end that turn. Stalingrad nights. The night could have been the time to rest and refit, but there are no timeouts in Stalingrad. The nerve-wracking sound of Soviet bombers lurking in the darkness constantly reminds the Lancer that the night is not his. It belongs to the enemy. In some areas, the blazes illuminate the night skies, and in the distance, a constant rumble of explosions and gunfire can be heard. By dawn, units will have been resupplied and ready for another long day of fighting. And during nighttime, we can replace soldiers that have been hurt. But our guys will be resupplied. Now, this is the bad news. The bad news, I should say. Elements of the 13th Guards Rifle Division have just reached the city and have immediately been thrown into battle. They are fresh and battle-hardened troops. Their arrival on the battlefield is an unwelcome surprise. And so they are actually going to be pushing, of course, towards the piers. We're going to do everything we can to make it very difficult for them to attack. We could even start setting up our own defenses, setting up mines, etc. But only time will tell kind of how this goes. It seems it is still nighttime right now, guys. And, of course, we're still holding those areas. But we do have some additional moves we can go for, although only 2 victory points. And I'm going to take a big risk here. I'm going to be attacking with single units instead of doing coordinated attacks in an effort to grab those 2 areas, because those are really good starting off points. So we can, of course, funnel reinforcements into the areas to make sure that we have a wide attack line. All right, so we're going to take... Who's going to be the lucky lads? It's going to be the 2nd Battalion here of the 194th Infantry Division. And we have pushed through. We have taken control of the area. Now, if we wanted to be extra safe, we could wait to take control of that area in the west and just go ahead and mop up the area, but I'm too stubborn for that. I want to have control of this entire area, and we're going to go for the bridge over the Tsaritsa. And again, I think we are going to be able to take it once again, but we have not cleared these areas out. Let's keep that in mind. And it also is nighttime, so in the morning, things could change quite a bit. Now, obviously, as you can imagine, the deeper we get into the city, you could see at that point we're fighting block for block. And these areas, as you can see, they're dense urban areas. They've got ruins in them. Some of them have snipers, booby traps. It's going to get more and more difficult to get into the city. And one of the most important things is we need to make sure to just keep supplying troops. But we have a limited pool of troops here. You know, they're not just going to keep jumping in. It doesn't really work that way. So let's end the turn there. Birds of prey. The Luftwaffe is omnipresent in the skies of Stalingrad. A series of massive raids has already reduced the city to smoldering ruins. During the day, the slightest movement of Soviet troops immediately attracts a swarm of bombers, and pockets of resistance can be crushed under their bombs in moments. So in the beginning of the battle here, we have the Luftwaffe, and they are helping us tremendously and repelling the Soviets, especially since we're on the outskirts of the city, so they're a lot easier to see. And as you can see, since we have taken the Mamaev Kurgan, guys, this allows us to get some really good artillery support while we hold that position. The fighting to the north of the city has been intense, and maintaining control of the strategically important hill of Mamaev Kurgan is hard to achieve. More men are also needed to isolate the center of Stalingrad from the factory area. On top of all this, the Volga-Don Isthmus has not been guarded and is under constant pressure from the Soviets. The Wehrmacht don't have enough men for all these tasks. However, a temporary effort could be made to reinforce our troops fighting in the city at the expense of other very important missions. And this will cost us 1 victory point, which victory points are everything in this game. But I'm thinking, in an effort to just get more troops on the ground and have a better chance at victory, I am going to get it. So the 230th Fusilier Regiment is now at your disposal. 3 companies, but of course at the cost of a very important victory point. And the reason I did that, look where we can bring these units in, guys. We can bring them right into the Mamaev Kurgan area. I'm going to go for the Dolgi Gully North area, and I will do a planned coordinated assault here. 2 units. Let's go for it. Absolutely beautiful, although that was... No, wait a minute. Look at that, guys. The assault has been repulsed. When I saw that, the 61-64, I was like, this is not good. That's over 120 men. Obviously, quite a few. We could go for a second coordinated assault here. I think I'm going to do it, and I'm going to add some tanks, some sappers. We're going to have to send over one of our units from Mamaev Kurgan, and I'm going to do the same thing. Some tanks, some guns, some sappers. They are low on ammunition, too. We need to keep that in mind. And let's go. A deadly silence falls on the battlefield. Our 6th Tank Battalion is suppressed. Troops now engage in fierce combat. Another tank blows up, flames erupting from the turret and engine. Ambushed attacking tanks wisely retreat. And once again, guys, this is amazing. They destroyed our 6th Tank Battalion number 1, but the assault has been repulsed. I'm quite amazed by that. And you know what you need to do in these situations? We need to shell the area. We are going to bombard that area with everything we've got, whatever it takes. The frustrating thing is, of course, that stops us from being able to do virtually anything today. We can maybe go for one more assault, and I think I'm going to maybe send some units into the gully area from the western suburbs. Or even just move into the suburbs from here. Yeah, let's go to the Krutoi Gully North area, just moving in there. And sure enough, there was nobody in the area. So we do have a nice little line here, essentially, starting attack line. Let's hope that this pays off, but still plenty of units that are waiting to get on the field. And I must say, I learned my lesson. We should have hit that area with artillery immediately. If an area is too hard to crack, you have no other choice than to bring in the Luftwaffe or the artillery, if you have access to them, of course. Well, my friends, one of my biggest goals with this particular series is to keep it short and sweet and allow you guys to give your input. So what do you think we should do in this next part of Stalingrad? What part of the city would you focus on? I'm going to give you some options. We can go for the mouth of the Tsaritsa River. We can push in through the suburbs into the city. We can focus on the east of Mamaev Kurgan steppes. Which of those 3 should we focus on? West, center, or east? And why? Let me know in the comments down below, and always hit that like, comment, and subscribe. A huge thank you to our channel members, those that actually pay to be here at the channel, and thank you to our subscribers as well. I'll catch you in the next one, folks.